Hi guys, welcome to your 12th Java tutorial. In this one, I just wanted to talk a bit more about classes because I feel like we kind of rushed through it last time. The simplest thing to do will be to go through each step and learn about it. So we can go ahead and add a new class, um, and let's call it cars because uh, I think that'll make it easier to understand. And since we're using JCreator, we don't even need to type a lot of this stuff. So we can click on it being a public class so that everyone can use it. And let's go ahead and generate a default constructor. Um, and let's just hit finish. Okay, so this is our public class called cars, and it's a lot like regular cars are. So some attributes that cars can have is maybe it has a color. So we can have a color attribute in there, and I don't know, maybe how many passengers it can hold. So maybe size is a color for it, and I mean size is an attribute for it. And, um, or we can do int size because size isn't actually something real. And maybe the number of doors is an attribute for it. You get the idea. So though that's what are called attributes. So those are going to be all the variables that you have available in that class. Um, and then you have methods. So this is a special type of method, but most methods are just created by saying if it's public or private. So most methods are just going to be public, and let's say one of the methods for a car is to drive the car. So we want drive, and that's our method, and this is going to make the car move. Uh, one good attribute to have would be for the position of the car. And for position, we can just do an int x and a y. That should suffice. So we want the car to drive, and we can now the car doesn't know how much to drive though in this case. So to supplement that, we would put parameters in to the method so that the method knows has some values to work with. And to do that, that's what we do in these parentheses that we put over here after the name of the method. So we can do, let's say, an int of the new x and an int of the new y. And what this will do is when another class calls this method in the cars class, it'll also the user will also need to give an integer for the new x coordinate and an integer for the new y coordinate. And then we can work with this to give the new position, give the car a new position. So we can say x would equal new x, and y would equal new y. So that's basically how a method would work. Another thing that you can do with classes is that you can input a value and get something, or not even input something, just you can get something out of the class. So if you wanted to know the how much it drove, so the difference between this and the old x and this and uh, the new y, we could also do something like public int because what we're going to be outputting is an integer, and this is basically a more involved way of defining a variable. So we can say instead of just public and the name, we can say public int something. Um, let's say public int position um, will give out return. Um, it can return. Let's go position. Um, okay, this will be. position, and then we can give it an attribute for a string, whether it wants the x or the y. So we can name this coordinate, or rather, let's make this a char, a char coordinate, and if um, if coordinate equals x, then we want to go ahead and return um, return the x. Um, Otherwise, we're just going to return the y. Um, so the way this works is you have your public integer that you define as position, and then it takes in which you want, the x or the y, as a char. Then it uses an if statement to see if you chose x or something else, which if you know what you were asking for, it would have to be a y. And then you return these values depending on what it is. And whenever you use an integer, or this can be any kind of variable, it can be any type, string, char, whatever, you have to have one of these return statements for all of the cases. Uh, because what this does is when you call it up, it returns something. So it's kind of similar like in our keyboard class when we put in a prompt to ask the user, it returns what the user puts in. So that's why we have to use a string. This could be public. We can write public in there and it wouldn't really change anything. So sometimes what we use these for things for, like the returning method things, I'm not sure what they're called. Um, we use them because it's bad programming habit to ever have these attributes be public, because what that does is it means that other classes can kind of change these things without that class knowing it, and that's not something we always want to do. So most of the time you'll see all of these variables as being privates. So let's go ahead and make them private. Um, because we don't want um, other classes and stuff using them. We don't want other people to see these things. These are like under the cover things that no one else really needs to see. But in case that they do need to see these things, what we can do is we can create these public get and set methods that can do a bunch of stuff if any of these values change. So we can do a get public color get color. Now I don't think color is a default thing in Java, so this is probably not an actual working class. But we can say a return color, and so this will give the color of our car to the class that calls it. And we can even do a public set color. Um, Set color, and then an attribute would have to be color. Um, Color. And okay, I can teach you something new now. As you can see, it says color here, and this is also the color variable, but they're in fact different variables as they're stored in a computer's memory. So to differentiate between this color and this color, we use the keyword this, um, and then dot, and then whatever the variable is, and then we can just put in this. So when you call this, it goes back to the class and asks for anything that's in the whole class. When you say this, you're basically stepping out of your method here and going into the whole class and looking for color, and you find it. So you have this dot color. So the color that the whole class has equals the color that I just created over here. And this will change that color to this color, if that made any sense. And you can pretty much do this for all of these. And when it's useful when, say, you want to do different things when these things change. So, say if if the size of your car increases, I don't know why this would do anything, but maybe you also want to increase how many doors it has, or vice versa. It basically gives you more control over your class, and it's just good programming habit to have these be private, so that they can't be easily modified in your code by other classes. So I think this is a good basic overview of how classes work and what they are. Um, Again, you basically use classes to make coding easier on yourself. The A rule of thumb when you're coding is have as much reusable code as you can. So it's just cleaner and more efficient, and you don't have to write as much. And classes allow you to do that. They let you have set code that you can modify for different things, but it's still the basic stuff is still the same as if you were writing something completely different. So I can use the cars class in a game I'm making, or it can be some manufacturing program where they have to manage whatever cars they're making. Um, oh, and I almost forgot about the constructor, but I mentioned this in the last tutorial as well. Um, your constructor is just what happens when you make an object for that class. So I just want to clarify what an object is and what a class is. So an object is the variable that takes on the form of the class. So in our last tutorial, when we made this keyboard object from the keyboard class, um, we were basically saying we're gonna make keyboard an object that implements this class as a new keyboard. And when we say this new keyboard thing, that initializes the constructor. Um, and in this case, our constructor uh, set reader equal to a new buffer reader. Um, and this is basically like to say that this is going to be a new keyboard class. We're not going to use this to put other objects into it. If you know what I mean, like you can also have made, let's say now we make keyboard um, keyboard 2, but we don't have to set it to a new keyboard. We can always just set it to that first keyboard that we use, and now keyboard 2 is synonymous with keyboard. Um, and that's just one of those Java things that you really need to take a class about, or just pick up a book about to get in more detail. If you have more questions, I can do a more in-depth tutorial about it. But it's just something that I feel like you should really pick up a book about it, or actually take some class. It'll help you a lot more than I can sitting over here, since I don't have any contact with you guys. Um, so yeah, that's basically what a constructor is for. It's when you make a new object, it sets all your variables to what they should be by default, and like it initializes a lot of your things, like saying that this reader will equal a new buffered reader. Um, so uh, that's just a basic overview, and I hope that helps. I'm sure there are other tutorials that you can look at on YouTube. Maybe those will help you more too. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me, because getting a good understanding of this is very important in making any kind of higher level programs in Java, even computer games or stuff like that. And this is only a small part of it. There's a whole other part about abstraction and um, all this other more complicated things that we will need to look at to start on our game. So I hope that helped, and if you have any questions, please ask them, and feel free to subscribe, which always helps in letting me know that there are people that want me to put up more tutorials. Uh, and rate my video, give it comments so that I know that you guys actually like what I'm doing. And if you want, I can change some stuff. If you want me to improve things, I'll improve them. Thanks for watching, guys.